Good morning, everybody. Very warm welcome to the MDes webinar. My name is Vanessa, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. So whether you're here to learn more about the MDes program or to meet our faculty and students, or just simply, explore what the MDes has to offer, we're very glad you're here. So maybe before we begin, we'd like to actually kind of get to know our participants. And through a little get to know you activity, um, and after which we'll go into an overview in the MDes program. Then we have a panel where we can meet the faculty, students, and the alumni of the MDes program. We'll kind of go into the admission, financial support, certificates after, and then followed by a Q&A as well. So please, if you have any questions, please put it into the chat, and we will try to answer as many of the questions as we go along. Okay, so maybe we can start. So what you can do is let's get to know everyone a little bit better. So if you can head over to the QR code on your screen, you can scan it and you'll see a couple of short questions. So the first one is for where you're joining us from. So maybe we'll give everyone a couple of minutes to respond. So if you can scan the QR code and type in your responses. Okay, sunny Singapore. Singapore is actually cloudy today, though. Okay, so Hong Kong, okay, Indonesia. Selamat datang, I think hopefully I'm correct. Maybe I'm not. So we've got Singapore, Hong Kong, Indonesia. Just let's see if there's more people coming in. Shanghai, okay. Beijing as well. Hangzhou, okay. Great. I think we've got a very nice mix of people joining us. Okay, oh, Nanjing as well. Suzhou. Okay, great. Welcome. Okay, so maybe moving on, if you can scan the link, what is your background? So we'd like to kind of get to know you a little bit better. Are you currently a working professional or have you recently graduated from school? Let us know what is your diverse backgrounds. Okay, give everyone a minute to respond. Okay, a senior graduating next year. Okay, year four student. Okay, so we have some graduating students or soon to graduate, juniors, a recent graduate from architecture as well. Okay, mid-career professional. That's great. We're getting an interesting mix as well. Let's just see a minute or more, see if any responses come in. Okay, great. If not, I think we can move on. Okay, so I think lastly, we're curious to know what kind of aspects of the MDes program at NUS appeal to you the most. So is it the curriculum? Is it the faculty? Is it the collaborative projects or the industry partnerships? So let us know what appeals to you from the MDes program. Okay, I believe it's the curriculum and the collaborative projects, which we'll definitely get into. Definitely a lot of collaboration in the MDes, so it'll definitely have what you want, as well as the industry partnerships, and the resources as well. Okay, let's just give it a couple more seconds to see. Okay, um, I think I think with that, I think we kind of get a sense of it, and it's great to know that there's a lot of people, different people from different backgrounds here today. I'm going to pass over the time to Karen to talk through the program.
Thanks a lot, Vanessa. And yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Karen. I am a senior lecturer here at the Division of Industrial Design, and I'm also the program lead for the MDes program. And I'm happy to share a little bit more detail on the program, what it is about, what's the intention and the philosophy behind it, and some of the structure and the work that we've done to give you a good understanding and overview before we dive into the panel. So, what is the MDes program? The MDes program is really all about empowering future design leaders. It's a focus program. It can be completed in 1 year. And the intention really is to allow you, no matter if you're a fresh graduate or if you're a mid-career professional, to deepen your practice in order to enable you to really drive meaningful change in whatever domain, professional domain that might be. So it's all about thinking strategically, learning to add on to the design craft that you have established during your undergrad, collaborate across disciplines, across sectors. That's something that is definitely very core to our program. And again, be able to then apply it in a meaningful way. But let's start with the question, what is integrated design? Um, Very simple, the way that we define design in our program and here at the division is that we see it as a connective and integrating discipline. It's not a standalone practice. It's all about being able to bridge and translate between different disciplines, being able to bring different sectors together, taking scientific insights, and understanding of business needs, and of course also community needs, and translating and connecting these. And we believe that designers and design has a unique potential to actually facilitate some of the key transitions and transformations that are critical for the world that we're in right now, may it be on a systemic level, may it be on a social level, may it be on an organizational level. So again, we really see this program as a launch pad. We want to train designers to be able to integrate across different sectors. So bridging disciplines, being able to collaborate with other designers, but also with other practitioners from different disciplines and drive transformations. It's a 1 year program. If you just can go back here very briefly, it's a 1 year program. There is an option to also take 3 semesters, but it can be completed in 1 year. The current cohort size that we are aiming for is around 35 students. So it is quite a, I would say, intimate size. There's still like a lot of very close connection between the classmates as well as the lecturers. And as you can see here on the call, but also I think what we saw where all our participants are coming from, we have quite an international cohort. So we have Singaporean students, we have students from across Southeast Asia and Asia, India, Indonesia, China, the Philippines. And you'll also see that reflected in some of the students that we have on our panel here. So in short, if you can move forward, yes, it's a focused and compact program. And it's really allowing you to dive deep without actually putting your career on hold. The MDes program is nested within or situated within the Division of Industrial Design, which has been around actually for a long time. It has been really like a stable and very important part of the Singapore design scene and ecosystem. And this is also reflected in the fact that it has been driving design excellence for many years. And here on the screen, you just see a selection of some of the design awards that our student work has received. And we, of course, hope that in the future, maybe through also your work and participation, we can add many more from the MDes program as well. And this design excellence is also reflected in our faculty. We have some here on the call, and you can see from the photos and from the people in the call, also here we're very international. But the diversity is also coming from our different backgrounds in terms of design practitioners, design researchers, or researchers in fields like HCI, and design educators with a long experience in teaching designers. So how do we go about teaching design in an MDes program? We are quite proud of we feel very unique and applied course structure. So what the MDes program does, it actually combines or integrates, as the name says, theory and practice. We have on one hand, and some of you mentioned that already in our poll, quite a strong focus on collaboration with real world partners from industry, from research, from public sector to really expose our students to real world problems, really getting them to work on those challenges. We connected though and integrate that with a very strong theoretical methodological underpinning, like looking at the key skills and the key discussions that are emerging in design. So, and we're doing this in a very agnostic way. So we're not focusing on specific design disciplines. We're bringing in topics across experience design, service design, strategic design, sustainable design, creative computing, and much more. And all this is happening within Singapore, which is in itself an international hub within Southeast Asia. We have a lot of global companies headquartered here or having the regional headquarter. But of course, it's a melting pot in itself across Southeast Asia, across APAC. To give a little bit more detail, and you can find this structure also on the website, let's have a look at the actual course structure. So across the 2 semesters, what you can see at the core of it is really our integrated design studio, which is 8 hours per week, where we very intensively explore different real life challenges in studio projects together with industry partners. This then again is supported through a set of different theory modules, which cover critical aspects like research methods or emerging topics in design, which touch on topics like design justice or designing with and for AI, various emerging technologies, feminist design, sustainable design, etc. And now in the second semester, which will be coming up in January for the current cohort, we'll look at critical topics like design strategy and leadership, as well as collaborative design. This is supported, lastly, with a wide catalog of unrestricted electives that is continuously growing. And this really provides you an opportunity as a student to customize and enrich your academic experience. And here, if you go to the next slide, we have a whole list of various topics that allow you to really zoom into areas that are most interesting and relevant for you. Might be design for behavior change, sustainable innovation, creative computing, spatial computing, etc. These on one hand are elective courses, but we also have opportunity for our students to, for example, join one of our labs that are attached to the division. For example, Clement is running one of those labs, allowing you to take part in research projects and also get a hand-on experience of academic research that is currently happening here at NUS. Before we jump into the panel, I just wanted to give you a glimpse of our integrated design studio. Again, this is really the core of our program, and this is really where I think a lot of the work and the growth and transformation is happening. Here again, we're very proud to have a wide range already of very interesting industry partners, like, for example, Singapore Zoo, like Mandai Wildlife Reserves, but also Changi Airport, where we just finished a project, or the National University Hospital of Singapore. And in the next semester, we'll kick off another project with Hyatt Hotels. So let me give you a very, very brief snapshot of a few of those projects, just to give you an understanding how we approach it. So this was, for example, one project together with Samsonite, where we explored how travel will evolve in the next 20 years. And here students looked at topics like, for example, space travel, or on the very other side of the spectrum, the very critical topic of travel for climate refugees. Another collaboration was with the National University Hospital, where we explore how we might make maternity care more human-centric while integrating technology. So really being very cautious and very critical about how we can use technology in a meaningful way. Here we also collaborated with Schaeffler, a robotics company, and really stressing and stretching the idea what technology can mean in this context. And just in this last semester, we completed 2 collaborations, one with Carousel, an e-commerce platform focusing on second-hand products, where we took the angle of how might we make second-hand the first choice. And here on the screen, you see a project where a student team was exploring how we can really integrate repair services within the e-commerce platform, and with this, extend product lifespans. So you can see many of those projects really take a very systemic point of view to see how we can actually have a real life impact for businesses, for community, but also broader society. And lastly, This was a project that we just completed with Changi Airport, where we explored for Changi Terminal 5, which is coming up in 10 years' time, how we can actually make travel more accessible for senior citizens. And another very interesting and I know also like very challenging topic for the students, but it was really interesting to see how with just a short time of like one semester, all the teams were able to get to a very high level of output. But enough talking by me. Now I'll hand back over to Vanessa to take us through the panel.
Hey, thanks, Karen. So let's meet our panelists. So of course we have Karen, whom you just heard from, our wonderful program lead for the MDes. We also have Brian Stone, Associate Professor and Director of the Communication Design Hub at the Division of Industrial Design, and Clement as well, who is an Assistant Professor and Principal Investigator of the Interactive Materials Lab, also at the Division of Industrial Design. We also have our current batch of MDes students. So we have Fabri, Kai, Bavika, and myself, as well as the MDes alumni, Anna and Yiming. So thanks everyone for being here. Let's kick off the panel. So maybe I'll start with a very big picture question for Karen. So Karen, what distinguishes NUS's MDes from other similar postgraduate design programs globally?
Maybe let's start off how it is distinguished within Singapore. Like it is in Singapore, actually the first MDes program. There is no other MDes program within Singapore. Now taking a little bit more zoomed out look, I think what is very interesting about our program is on one hand that we're situated within NUS, which is a large and very high-ranking university with a wide range of different research departments, a lot of different topics and activities are going on. So studying here, we actually are able to tap into a whole variety of collaborations. But then taking one further step out, I think also Singapore specifically is a very interesting location to be at as a designer because Singapore itself is a hub, is an international city that brings together a lot of interesting industry, research. There's hubs in terms of finance, research, business. So I think here really we have the intersection of many different streams that are relevant and that are very critical for us as designers to be aware of and to be involved in. So this is also something that we're trying to bring into our thinking and into our design work.
Okay. Maybe let's ask one of the students as well, maybe for February. So for February, what made you choose the MDes program at NUS over other programs?
Yeah, so I think my consideration on choosing NUS is because, as Karen has mentioned, NUS is a higher learning institute that is interdisciplinary. So we don't only meet people from design backgrounds. So I think I can meet people from the engineering background, from psychology background, and I think it will help me to in my future working practice because I will also work with a diverse team. So I think that is why, compared to like other universities where I also received an offer, which is still for more focus on design and art, that is why I chose NUS as my choice to study.
Thanks, February. Maybe let's talk a bit about that. Maybe Brian, maybe you can take this one. What kind of academic or professional backgrounds is the MDes looking for in applicants? And, would you say having design experience is important versus coming in from other disciplines to kind of create that very diverse, student body?
Okay, hi everybody. To your point, design in itself is inherently interdisciplinary. As professionals, when we work on projects, we work on a whole variety of different domains. We deal with different clients. So this sort of interdisciplinary spirit, if you will, is part of the DNA of our program. What we look for in our applicants are, of course, students that have some formal design backgrounds. It's not constrained to one particular area, that being industrial design or visual communication design or interior space design. It can come from a variety of things, but we also consider people who have design aptitude. And what I mean by that is perhaps you studied computer science and through your professional work, you started doing interface design, didn't necessarily have a foundation in doing it, but you were making decisions sort of intuitively. And we look for people who have those kinds of skill sets because we believe that this interdisciplinary makeup is to the betterment of the overall cohort. All right, so we start spiraling up and cross-pollinating in that regard.
Thanks, Brian. Maybe the next question for Clement, what kind of research opportunities are available for the students within the MDes program?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Clement. Research. So, I mean, I think maybe right off the bat, the fact that we are in NUS, right? So NUS is a research-focused university, and um, within the Division of Industrial Design, we have um, a lot of different researchers working on different things. And then if you zoom out a little bit to look at the College of Design and Engineering, which we are situated in, and even further out, if you look at NUS as a whole, there's just a lot of research that happens. And I think as an NUS student, NUS students are exposed to all these opportunities. And within our division, within the MDes program, we do have a few different ways which MDes students can take part in research. So for example, you could take a course where you do an independent study with a professor on a particular research topic, or you can take another course which is also kind of more like an internship course, but within a research lab, where you get to take part in the day-to-day research activities that's happening. For instance, I do research in human-computer interaction, and so I've had MDes students come in to help out and to take part in the lab's research. Anna is one of them. Anna, who is an alumni. In fact, Anna is coming in as a PhD student in January, joining my lab as a PhD student. And then there's also more ad hoc opportunities where you could work as a graduate, almost like a graduate research assistant, to help out in the lab's research. So many different formats. Yeah, happy to discuss anything specifically. If anyone has questions, please feel free to also put it in the Q&A section in the panel.
Thanks, Clement. I think maybe since also you mentioned that I think one of the MDes alumni is joining, maybe Anna, how did you perhaps did you see a lot of opportunities to perhaps like participate in conferences or exhibitions? Maybe you could talk a little bit about your experience.
Yeah. So yeah, actually during the MDes program, I was a part of Clement's platform called STEM Punk, and because of which we could develop a CPR kit, a DIY kit, which we focused in this SCDF innovation competition, and we got the third place for it. So stuff like that is you just have to keep going and just take part in.
Thank you, Anna. I think maybe, if we bring it back to the course a little bit, maybe this one's for Karen. How would you say, that the design theory and the hands-on practical experience is balanced in the course? I think that would be something keen that the participants would want to hear.
It definitely would be also great to hear the students' point of view to see if actually what we're planning to do also materializes in the world. But the plan is, and that's I think what I had briefly outlined in the sharing, is that it's really very integrated. So we have at the core our design studio, which is 8 hours per week, which is actually quite a lot of time. And that is centered and focused on getting the learners to really, or the students to really explore and run their own project. So it's always team project, it's always a collaboration, because that also reflects the real life experience of professional designers. And as much as possible, we want to bring this real life experience into the studio space. So we work in teams. The briefs are on purpose more broad. So it's also a key part to really experience and learn how to frame a design problem well. And then there are regular consultations and check-ins and close collaboration with our clients, who also provide direct input in regards, for example, on feasibility, on business strategy, on just everyday reality of working and bringing to life a design solution. That is then supported, on the other hand, with the lecturers that are running the design studios, but as well as the theory classes that run in parallel. And here we're really trying to, as much as possible, have some integrations and touch points. We know the briefs that are running as we are doing the theory classes, and we're also aware of what are the key tools that are being covered in the theory classes. And this allows a quite fluid interaction between those. So what I hope that we achieve, and again, maybe a question back to you guys as students, that we provide you with the key tools and thinking and exposure to both literature as well as case studies from practice to then bring that over selectively into your work and try it out. So of course, we know everyone is keen to actually have a strong portfolio, but we also want to very much see this masters as a space for exploration and a safe space for you to try things. So it's really experimentation, bringing theory and practice together within the studio.
Thanks, Karen. Okay, we'll definitely need to hear from the students now. So I think I will float this to Bhavika, Kai, and February. So perhaps could you share with us, a studio project that you worked on this semester? Maybe Bhavika, we'll start with you.
Yeah. So we were actually working with Carousel, which is one of the biggest brands for secondhand products, and our brief was around making secondhand products the first choice. Interestingly, our users that we had selected was actually a marginalized group. So overall, our focus here was sensitivity to all the stakeholders, and it was very important to align all of them on the same page. In companies, usually you're not focused or you're not exposed to all stakeholders, but here you're being exposed to all of them. And that was one of the biggest learning, I would say, in this regard. So that was one of the interesting projects.
Thanks, Viveka. Maybe February, you can jump in since you worked on Carousel as well.
Yeah, so in my case, I work more focusing on how we could explore the potential of adding a repair practice to extend the life cycle of second-hand appliances in Singapore. So in my case, I designed with my team a surface and system blueprint to connect the owner of appliances, the potential buyers, and also the repair partners to help make some kind of certified refurbished appliances listing in Carousel. And I think what was really interesting for me is how actually by discussing with the industry partner, which is the head of product of Carousel, it really helped to define the feasibility and also the business potential of the design solution itself.
Thanks, February. I think, Kai, we can move on to you as you did the Changi Airport project. Maybe you could share a little bit about, your time working on it.
Yeah, so I worked on the Changi Airport project, and our brief was mostly future-ready travel for senior travelers. So that's essentially making the airport more accessible for them. And the intervention that we ended up with was actually a mobile interface and multi-view pixel technology, which sounds complicated, but it's essentially just a digital signboard where everyone looks at the same board, but they're fed different flight informations depending on the traveler. And for me, I really enjoyed and appreciated the fact that we were able to work with an industry partner, especially a company as big as Changi Airport. And it really simulated like the real life design setting. So working with clients, stakeholders, and your peers. And I really appreciated that it was very open-ended. So no one forced us to have to make an app or you have to make a product or a service. It was really up to us and where our research brought us. And I think something that I want to highlight is the collaboration and the people that you get to meet when doing this. So from my experience, like my group had a variety of ages, nationalities, and design specialties. Like we had someone from interior design, there was someone from product design, graphic design, and I think having this diversity in the project really allowed us to learn from each other and come up with a design solution that we couldn't like individually do alone. And we were able to like pool our strengths, maybe the graphic designer working on UI UX and the product designer working on 3D renders. And we were able to like sort of cover where each other faltered. And I think this really showcased like the beauty of interdisciplinarity in the studio projects.
Thanks, Kai. I think I want to also second what Kai said. I think getting to work with the clients and have all these weekly meetings, I think was really instrumental to our projects. They would, it's all very professional. They really give us feedback. The design problems that are out there are very real. And also, the kind of groupings are very diverse in terms of nationality and background. So you really do get to work with different people and they really bring different ideas and it's definitely not something you can do on your own as well. Maybe on that note, Kai, if you're still there, perhaps you could maybe share a little bit more about how you feel the MDes has supported your creative and strategic thinking skills.
Yeah, so it's similar to what Karen said. So I think the way that the course is really set up facilitates the development of these creative and strategic thinking skills, not just learning them, but also applying them as well. So as Karen mentioned, we have both theoretical and practical subjects. So theoretical classes like the emerging topics or the design research methods, these really help us learn the different strategies, the frameworks, and the skills that can help improve or enrich your current design practice. Then on the other hand, you have the practical classes like the studio, and you can apply and transfer the skills that you learned from your theoretical classes right into the practical classes. So real life context and industry works. And I think something that, I also want to highlight about the course is that the subjects overlap. So in my experience, like whatever I learned from emerging topics, healthy living, which is the elective I took, and design research methods, they all bled into and translated directly into my studio work with Changi Airport. So yeah, whatever I learned from those classes went into my practical classes. And this setup really gives you the opportunity to explore and continuously refine and hone your creative and strategic thinking skills. And I think the learning and doing approach that they take of seeing what works and what doesn't work, it really teaches us to be more adaptable and flexible in the process and the project, and to really prepare us for the dynamic and continuously changing atmosphere of professional practice.
Thanks, Kai. Maybe on that note, if I can pass it to Yi Ming, who's just graduated, maybe you could also expand a little bit about how the MDes program has, shaped your career goals or changed your design philosophy.
I can go. So for me, it has helped me shape or grow as a reflective designer. Before, I used to be more focused like, oh, just product, just, interaction design. So it's more over what the context requires, and you reflect over what the context requires, and you go forward to do it.
Okay, for me, actually, before starting this master program, I didn't have any knowledge about the service design or experience design. So, however, as the first class of student in this master program, I must say this amazing program has really expanded my design perspective, not only in the architecture and the urban design, and through the studio work, emergency design topic, and the research project in those kind of the amazing courses, I feel that the service design as a core design and also the transdisciplinary collaboration have already become integrated to my body. And I'm truly grateful for this project and opportunities have helped me to understand more than just the architecture and assist me in the discovering my own academic interest in. And as well, I'm currently exploring how the service design can be integrated into the architecture perspective in the circular and sustainable way.
Thanks, Yiming. Maybe if we just circle back a little bit quickly to the admission and application side of things, maybe Karen, for all of the students, the keen students here today, perhaps what advice could you give them for our international applicants who maybe are not familiar with Singapore's design landscape? Maybe Karen and Clement, you might want to advise the students a little bit.
I can maybe share a little bit about the Singapore design scene. So, obviously not born in Singapore or from Singapore directly. I actually spent the last almost 14 years here working. Before NUS, I ran my own design consultancy. And I think what's very interesting about the Singapore design scene specifically is that's a quite rich mix of, on one hand, homegrown local design consultancies, working on various aspects of design, but also, as mentioned before, quite a large variety of multinationals who have their regional headquarters or general headquarters here in Singapore. I think what's also very interesting, and it builds a little bit on what Yiming was saying around service design. One thing that also brought me to Singapore, kept me most busy in my professional life here, is actually a strong focus on design also in the public sector. So maybe around healthcare or various public service provisions, design actually does play quite a big role. And just this year, around the 60th birthday of Singapore, Singapore actually proclaimed itself as a nation by design. And I think that's also quite an interesting context to be in within Singapore. So there's definitely, maybe compared to other European countries, where like where I'm from, the design history might not be as long, but because of its, I guess, more short and younger timeline, I feel like also there's a certain stronger flexibility and maybe more vibrancy here, which I think can be quite beneficial as a student, but also as a practitioner.
Yeah, maybe to add on that, I really want to reiterate the point that Karen made about Singapore, Singapore's focus on design, which I think it's really quite holistic and really what the integrated design program tries to facilitate, right? In this very quick, intense 1 year. I think Singapore is ultra pragmatic, very, very much concerned with like how to translate research into actionable services and systems that benefit the people in the country. And it shows, right? I have had undergrad students move on to work in the government, and they are doing design research for the government, right? So that they're going down to hawker centers, they're going down to like different parts of Singapore and really trying to find out from the ground up like how things are, and then implementing what their findings in terms of policies or in terms of kind of these service design interventions. So I think Singapore is has very much bought into this idea that services and systems and these complex infrastructures is something to be designed. And yeah, it shows. Personally, in my research center, we actually work very closely with government agencies we work closely with computer scientists and engineers and designers all together to kind of develop different kinds of, for example, training simulators for firefighters or for like different government service sectors. So yeah, I would say pretty forward-looking Singapore in terms of design.
Thanks, Clement. Maybe just to sort of wrap this section up, I'm sure some of the applicants here would have this on their mind. Maybe Brian, you can take this one. Perhaps you can share a little bit how competitive is the application process and what's the kind of selection criteria that the MDes is looking for?
Okay, I want to acknowledge that there are lots of very good master's and PhD programs around the world. I really appreciate your question, which was what was the element or elements that distinguish our program from other programs? I think Karen and Clement have done a very nice job in articulating that. Of course, our application process is competitive. You'll see that we ask questions about a statement of intent. We want to see results of your portfolio, and then obviously your academic background, your credentials. I do want to point out, though, the statement of intent is important because we want to understand from the student that they know where they're actually going and that their interests align with the objectives of the program. I would say too many times we see these very sort of generalized statements of intent that say, yeah, I want to learn about design. And of course, everybody wants to learn about design, but we want to make sure that you're in the right place and that you understand that the context of our MDes program in a larger research university is to your benefit and how you would take advantage of that. I would say the other part regarding your design work, you have to keep in mind that the panelists are looking at lots and lots of applications, lots of really good applications. So start your portfolio with a project of impact, right? And talk about how the project was transformative. Just don't talk about what you did, but talk about how the project that you designed made a difference in some capacity.
Thanks, Brian. I think we can wrap up the section and kind of move into the admission side, which kind of, I'm sure everyone has all of those pragmatic questions in mind as well. But I would like to encourage, everyone on the Zoom to, drop in your questions. We do have a Q&A section later. And please drop in the questions as you go along and we will answer them as we go. But maybe for now, I'll pass the time to Nadira to maybe speak a little bit more about the admissions and application requirements.
Thank you, Vanessa. So for the application requirement, just jumping on what Brian has said, if you're considering admissions to the MDes program for the August 2026 calendar year, so we have actually opened our application process from 1st October up until 28th February 2026. So if you actually check out our website, we have actually outlined various informations in terms of like the application details, application materials required that you will have to finish besides the transcripts and credentials, like what Brian mentioned. We also look at our portfolio, your CV, as well as your statement of purpose. And one additional thing that we look at is actually your video selfie. So this is quite interesting. Our video selfie, what is it about? It's basically you telling us within 3 minutes, like which are the emerging topics in design that interest you. Maybe we will also ask you to share an example of a bad design and how you would improve it, and also what do you want to bring to the cohort. So these are some of the probe questions that we want to hear from you, and we would like to have you share with us your thoughts on these probe topics. So like I've mentioned, our application period for the August 2026 intake is from 1st October up until 28th February 2026. So some of you might ask, is there any financial support options within the MDes program for our NUS alumni, be it if you're a Singaporean, Singapore PR, or international students? We do have a 40% fee rebate. Alternatively, if you are our international student, you can actually apply for the CDE Global Fellowship. So this also entitles you to a 40% fee rebate for international students. So with this, with the CDE Global Fellowship program, there will be opportunities for you to be ambassadors of the MDes program as well as the college itself. So just to share, I think Bhavika, our student from the this year's cohort, is also a recipient of the CDE Global Fellowship. Okay, so like Karen has mentioned earlier, our MDes program is actually a 1-year full-time program. If you are looking at getting admission or considering like a part-time study, you might want to actually consider graduate certificates. In our Division of Industrial Design, we actually offered 3 graduate certificates, which also means like an alternative pathway to the MDes program, whereby you can stack multiple graduate certificates for you to actually get the Master of Design in Integrated Design. So for the graduate certificates, we have 3. One is the Design Discovery and Emerging Topics, Design Leadership, as well as Integrated Design. So for the Design Leadership in Graduate Certificate in Design Leadership, we actually offer in both semesters, both the August and the January semester. For the Design Leadership, we actually offer in the January semester. And the Design Discovery and Emerging Topics, we offer it in the August semester. So just a rundown of what you can actually expect in the different graduate certificates. In the Design Discovery and Emerging Topics, students will actually be reading 2 courses out of the theory courses within the MDes program. For Design Leadership, that will be offered in the January semester, students will be reading Design Strategies and Leaderships and Collaborative Design. And for the integrated design, it's actually a 1-year graduate certificates whereby students will be doing the two design studios. So this is where students can actually work with our cohort students and faculty members, as well as the industry partners that we are working with in that particular semester. So for students who are interested in like the graduate certificate itself, you will be actually going for classes together with the MDes cohort. So we've actually wrapped up the webinar. So now we can actually proceed to the Q&A. We have also provided a DID, our email general inquiries mailbox. So if you have any questions later on or after the webinar itself, you can always drop us an email and we will actually address your questions. So for now, I think you can actually input your questions in the Q&A box, and then we will try to address it together.
And Nadira, let me say something about the video Velfi, if I may. You said the Velfi's 3 minutes.
Maximum 3 minutes.
Okay, and to everybody out there, that's not a lot of time. But don't be afraid to show a bit of your personality, right? And just relax and be authentic, because we get Velfis, they're very robotic, and we're trying to get a sense of who people are. And also, we've seen people that will do 4 or 5 minutes of video, and then they export their video file to play at 1.5 or 2 times speed. Do not do that. Think about this as a design challenge, right? So what can I do of impact in 3 minutes? It's just like another design problem. But please, just be very intentional about how you handle your Velfi, and don't send us anything 2 times speed. It's very hard for us to interpret.
And just to build onto that, I think that's actually quite an important point. Throughout all the different requirements for applications, so the Velfi, the letter, as well as the portfolio, what we're really looking for is to understand who you are as a designer. We want to understand how you think. We want to understand how you approach problems. So also in your portfolio, what we actually are most interested in is what are the learnings that you took away from the project. So also don't be afraid about of sharing what went wrong. What are the things you would do differently the next time around? Because that's actually for the master a very, very important step, reflecting on your work and understanding what you took away, what you learned, and where you are running into difficulties. So it doesn't have to be always highly polished. Again, we want to see your personality as a person and as a designer. This voice is actually very, very important for us. So don't polish it out. And I think we have one question for Clement on the research, the theoretical part of the research journey. Maybe you can take that. It's in the Q&A.
I typed a quick answer, but essentially, so design research it's really broad, right? I mean, design research covers many things, and it's constantly changing. We do offer a spectrum of different processes, different tools, different methods to think about in our design research methods course in semester 1. And I think Yiming also answered. I think the all the different research labs and then all the different research, the faculty that's conducting research in the division, these are venues where for people who are more interested in the more academic, if I may, academic or scholarly side of research, these are avenues where people could explore this further. Yeah, I hope that answers the question. I must say that maybe one more thing to add is that I think design, even as an academic discipline, design is highly applied, and the whole idea of having a design research methods course, but also having the integrated design studio happening in tandem is precisely to exercise this, learning about something more theoretical, more conceptual, but then thinking about how these things translate to actual design practice. That's really the whole setup of the MDes program, given that it's only 1 year long.
I'm wondering also maybe on that note, maybe Yiming or maybe Kai, if there's something that you might also want to share about perhaps the theoretical parts. As Clement mentioned, we do have a design research methods class. Maybe you all could share a little bit about that as well.
Yes, maybe I can share one example from me, from my experience before, because in the first semester is quite a little bit different with currently the course. The UE course we take the advanced platform, and I participate in JJ's lab in the future of the aged care project. So as a first semester, I participate into the anthropographic research, and the second semester as a graduate researcher, participant in the service design lab. So later we conducted the core design workshop with our stakeholders like the care workers and policymakers and others and universities researchers. So it's quite a good platform to explore myself in the design research this field. And also because I have the architecture background, previously, I also as a research assistant in my previous university. So later on, I still want to, because this services and lab experience also expand my design research skills. So it's quite important for me to expand my research in my mind. Yeah. So I guess if you want to, as I mentioned in the Q&A board, if you want to explore on the research field in the future, you can participate into many like the conference or the journals journal paper writings. So it's quite our department, the professors all can support you to do these things. And yeah, it's quite a good support, like from Gigi, Zhang He, and also the Karen support our future food congress. Yeah, so I think it's a good opportunity for them. Yeah.
Thanks, Yiming. I'm just wondering if anyone would like to jump in to mention or to add on anything about this. Okay, if not, I think we do have a little bit of time for one or two more questions. I think one which I think is quite interesting is from Yun So Lee. Coming from a CS background, I'm well aware of how AI can automate different production tasks. In this evolving landscape, how does the MDes program prepare students to move beyond production skills and focus on strategic areas where human designers are irreplaceable? So maybe Clement and Karen, could you maybe share a little bit more about this?
Happy to kick off, and then Clement, please do take over. Based also on what Clement already wrote in the response, I think this being a master program, our focus is not to provide you with hard skills. Everyone in the program is coming with a graduate background, like a undergrad background, working experience as designers. So what we're really focusing on is, again, deepening your practice, your thinking. So in the term of, like, for example, context of AI or really any emerging technology, what we want to promote is deep reflection, critical thinking on how you work with the technologies, how they're applied, why they're applied, who is included or excluded in the design process, what the implications are. So less about the exact tools that we're using, and as also like very rightly put in the question, these are changing at a so rapid pace. We rather look at, okay, why are we using them? What are the implications? What does it mean for our practice? So for example, in the emerging topics class just this semester, we spend quite a lot of time looking at the various perspectives and lenses that we take from systemic design, inclusive design, design justice, also including what are the implications from ethical to implications on the practice if we design with AI, for design, for AI, etc. So that's not just about what's the latest tool that we can use, but what does it actually mean for us as designers if we use those tools.
Yeah, I mean, uh, maybe if I were to, I completely agree with what Karen said, and maybe if I were to, once again, approach it from the fact that the MDes program is situated within NUS, and actually, specifically for AI, for instance, I think NUS is leading a lot of the kind of cutting edge research, the kind of latest kind of thinking around how we should be considering AI and its implications in different sectors. And so I would say that there's also a lot of opportunity to be to immerse yourself in not just the research and the work that industrial design is doing, but maybe the NUS research at large. For instance, we have a very tight human-computer interaction community at NUS, and that includes faculty from industrial design. I myself am part of it, but also faculty from new media, faculty from public health, computer science, information science, and engineering, and so in a way, I think there are already these like multidisciplinary setups that are questioning these, I wouldn't even say emerging topics, but these kind of big topics like AI, and questioning it from both like a practical industry standpoint, but also from like a academic, more like research standpoint. And so being in NUS like positions you to expose yourself to all these things. But I must say that it really depends on students being motivated and taking the step forward to explore these things, right? And so NUS offers all these opportunities, but as students, I think we are also expecting that, especially as master students, that students take have the courage to take that first step to put themselves out there to engage with all these other things that are happening in NUS.
And maybe to add on to that, also in line with like this other question around like not just which projects catch our attention, but if there's like traces of AI allowed in the applicant's portfolio. So it's not that we say don't use AI. We are very aware AI is part of our profession. It will be in the future. I think, and it's also like an evolving situation. So there is regulations around AI in NUS, which are actually quite open. But I think it's more coming from a point of view as you as a practitioner being very aware of what is you bringing to the table on top of AI. Because if AI can basically do whatever you are doing, if you're just relying on AI and outsourcing your thinking and your work, why should anyone collaborate with you, hire you, etc.? So what we're looking for is not work that is without any trace of AI, but we're looking for how have you used AI? How have you used technology? What have you added on? What have you done with it? Like any other tool, like any other aid that you would use in your process. So again, back to what we shared before, your personality, your thinking, your criticality, that's what you're looking for. So use AI by all means, but use it in a meaningful way and really add on to it. We had a conversation yesterday, and one of our colleagues said like AI is okay to use, but don't just submit raw AI. Add to it, work with it.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the key questions as well that I think the applicants would be curious to know, what kind of career paths do the MDes graduates typically go into after? Maybe Nadira, you could share more?
Okay, so for currently for our MDes graduates, there are multiple career paths that you can actually consider. Let's say for Anna, one of our graduates from class of 2025, she's actually pursuing a PhD in the January 2026 semester. So that is actually one options that students can pursue like in academia. And then also some of the what do you call that? Career paths that our graduates can go into are such as like design facilitators, service designers, design strategies, as well as product manager, UX, UI designer, and also work in industries such as healthcare, service in the service design. So there are multiple career opportunities actually for our MDes students.
And let me add something if I may,
Mm.
which is the word typical, right? Which is, there is not a typical path that our graduates go through. Now, I should explain that your bachelor's degrees, they're purposefully very broad-based, very wide, because the objective is to expose you to as many things in the particular design domain as possible. When you come into a master's program, it really then gives you an opportunity to focus and target a particular area. So if you are interested, let's say, in the domain of healthcare, well, there's a lot of different professional roles that you can work in that space, but to sort of get that domain knowledge and understand at an interdisciplinary level how it intersects with design, this program is an ideal place to do that. So there's, as Nadira pointed out, there's lots of different job roles, but don't just think about the job role. Think about the application domain that you are also most interested in, and our program can be in support of that.
And maybe one last thing to add to that as well. And of course, we're very aware that the next job after the program is on everyone's mind applying here. And it's important, a very important question, what will I do afterwards? But again, this being a master program, I think it's also very important to view that this program is not only preparing, training, and enabling you for the next job right after your graduation, but hopefully for the next 5, 10 years or longer, for jobs that might not even be around yet. And hence, again, the focus not so much on hard skills, but really on soft skills and thinking and critical exploration. So very aware, practically you look at what I'm going to do right after graduation, but we actually very much hope to also support you and empower you with skills that will last for a much longer part in your career that, again, might not even be around yet.
Thanks, Karen. I think we're almost at the end of our session. So before we wrap up, I just want to thank all of our panelists and everyone who joined us today for the really engaging discussion. We hope that, this gives you a clearer picture and idea of what the MDes program is like and what you can expect. As you can see on the slide as well, if there are any inquiries, please email the ID pgcoursework@nus.edu.sg. Of course, if you want to learn more as well, the website is cde.nus.edu.sg/did/MDes. But if you just search NUS MDes in Google, it'll pop up if you forgot the link as well. So I just want to thank everyone for being here. If you have any other questions, please just email and reach out for any inquiries that you have. And with that, I think we've come to the end of the MDes webinar, and it's been a pleasure having everyone here with us today. And we wish you a wonderful day or evening, whether you're joining us from. Thank you very much, and hopefully see you in the program soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.